Good evening and welcome. You are listening to People for People Radio.
We are live and welcome everybody to Turtle Talk on People for People Radio. And just giving you a heads up, my computer, it wants a divorce, so it might decide to bug out at any time. And if so, yeah, well, that's all I got to say on that. But anyway, we have a really good show for you today. As promised, we have Tracey Kennedy with us, and it's going to be awesome. She's going to be talking to us about her progress with the stem cell therapy and the work that she has been doing along with it that has really made great changes in her life and her dealing with her multiple sclerosis. Sorry about that. And also, I'm going to be talking a little bit in the first hour about the changes that we are experiencing. And I've talked to you a little bit about it before, about the solar minimum that we're coming into and what it can mean to us. Well, I've got a couple of papers here. These are white papers that have been peer-reviewed and published by Ben Davidson, and we all know him from Suspicious Observers. And I have been following him for a long time, which I know several of you have also been doing here on People for People. But these are very, very good articles that explain what is happening and what can be expected to happen, what has happened in the past, and the information that correlates with what we are dealing with now. So I think this is important news because this is a situation that we are moving into that's not going to change. It's not going to go away like our news, one day it's a disaster and the next day you don't hear about it anymore. Well, this you don't hear about at all, but it's not going away. And so I think it's something that we all need to be aware of. And V is with us, of course, and she has posted the links that I'll be talking about and reading from. So if you want to check those out, you can. Also, I want to also let everybody know that if you're not aware, if there are any newcomers on the site or listening, and you want to find out where you can hear from the different hosts here on People for People Radio, there's several places. If you are on site, if you look to the right of the chat, you'll see that we have podcast sections, and those podcast sections hold all of the podcasts from all of the hosts. So many different topics being covered. Excellent information. Also, V has a Facebook page. There's a link on that that column of quick links that you can go to. If you're on Facebook, please like and share the site People for People. V has done a lot of work on this site, and we're very, very appreciative. And also our YouTube channel, peopleforpeople.ning.com, and dot is spelled out D-O-T, so it's peopleforpeople.ning.com. If you're not subscribed to that channel, please do so, and thumbs up those videos if you like them. If you don't, thumbs them down, but at least let us know what it is about them that you like or dislike in the comment section. It really does help us. And if you have any ideas for future shows that we haven't talked about, which I find that kind of hard to believe because we cover so many different things, but if there are, let us know what you want to hear. And we'll do our best to make sure that we get that for you. We're always looking to reach out. We want dialogue. We want discussion. We want people to come together. That's what this family is all about here at People for People Radio. And today I'm joined not only by Tracey Kennedy, but by Barbara Threecrow. And Barb is getting ready to go on vacation. I'm a little jealous.
Yes. Gonna go to the Mother's Waters, everybody. I'm so looking forward to it.
I am too, and I'm not even going.
I'll bring back some sand for you.
Okay, bring me some stories too, some really good stories.
Plenty of stories.
Love them stories.
Good to be here.
Yes,
hey,
and we got Tracey here. She's sitting back there.
I'm right here. Hi, everyone.
There she is. But anyway, I think I'll start off on the document. Let's see, which one? Okay. Comment on revisiting the biological ramifications of variations in Earth's magnetic field. Now, I know this may sound a little heavy, but it's not. And if I go through it too fast, you have the links there. Please take the time to go and read it for yourself, because this is important stuff. It's something that we all need to be aware of. And there are things we can do, and the only way that we know what we can do and how we should do it is to become knowledgeable about what we're up against. So that's why I want to bring this to you. And if you hear a little hum in the background, it's because I have a fan going, but I can't turn it off, guys, or my computer will heat up and we'll all be in trouble. So with that being said, I'm going to start reading here. And of course, again, V is there in the chat. If you have any questions, just post to her and she'll send them to us and we can handle them. Okay, and this is by Ben Davidson. Of course, we know him from YouTube. His channel is Suspicious Observers, and he has been following this magnetic reversal and the Maunder and solar minimums and the events that have happened in the past. And he's correlated all of this. He's been on top of it for quite a while, done a lot of extensive research into this. And so I really do appreciate the work he's done. And if you can, go to his channel and also subscribe if you haven't, and support him in that. He is really working hard to make sure that we do get the correct information. So here we go. Okay, this is 1.0 introduction. There is an open question as to a correlation between geomagnetic variation and extinctions. Lingham 2019 concludes that the two are unrelated due to insufficient causation by long-term radiation and atmospheric loss. The study treats those problems appropriately, but too selectively narrows the ensemble of biological challenges during these events and improperly extends to the broader innocuous conclusion. The biosphere challenges. You hear my Luxie in the background probably. Major solar flares have not been well studied under a weakened magnetosphere, but they have been studied under current strong magnetic strength by Lingham and were found to be an underappreciated risk for habitability in the previous examination, and that would be Lingham and Loeb 2017. During the 1859 Carrington solar flare, which is expected to have 200-year periodicity, Earth's temperature changed by up to 7 degrees. Now this is an event that is supposed to happen every 200 years. Similar to the Carrington event, the solar flare that we had during a minimum at that time. Earth's temperature changed up to 7 degrees Celsius with 30% ozone loss and significant UV damage to plants and phytoplankton. The magnetic field of Earth is one of the only factors that saves Earth's biosphere from extinction events during these bicentennial flares. Lingham and Loeb 2017, and references therein. 10 times smaller flares like the 2003 solar proton event changed Earth's temperatures by 3 degrees Celsius. That's 3 degrees. You know, it's important to think about this because they're talking about global warming, but they're not telling you why we're having these fluctuations, why there is sudden heat, sudden cold. These are the reasons. These are the factual, documented, scientific reasons behind this. It's not because of what we are doing here. It's something that is cyclical, that will happen regardless of what we do. I'm not saying that what we're doing is not interfering. What I'm saying is it doesn't matter whether we interfered or not. These changes would occur. But anyway, Lingham and Loeb of 2017 in reference area. And larger solar flares like the Charlemagne event in 775 AD are known to occur on 1,000 to 2,000 year time scales and are 10 times larger than the Carrington event. Scaling with a constant magnetic field suggests a Charlemagne event could produce a 10 degrees Celsius change in temperature, which would meet the threshold of extinction level changes, and this is in Lingham and Loeb 2017, which would be amplified further during magnetic variation. While a solar flare extinction event is unlikely with the Earth's strong magnetosphere, the ozone depletion and resulting extinction from a nearby gamma burst or supernova would require only 1.5, 2 times more ozone loss. This is again in Lingham and Loeb. Than was seen during the 1859 flare. It is well known that Earth's field can decline up to 5 to 10% of current strength during magnetic variations. Earth's field is currently 10 to 20 times stronger than at its weakest, a change well within the ozone loss extinction scaling potential. Both ozone loss and climate changes could be amplified to extinction level events due to solar activity during a magnetic reversal. Without beginning to consider alternative causation, Lingham 2019 explores only the direct sievert radiation dose to humans from solar protons in a magnetic variation, but there is no discussion of the ozone loss, climate changes, or other challenges that were analyzed in the 2017 study. Okay, in addition to the solar cosmic rays, galactic cosmic rays increase during a geomagnetic weakening. It is well known that GCR trigger cloud formation, and studies have reported correlations between GCR and volcanic activity. Recent studies demonstrate the direct biological relevance of space energy for major cardiac events. Okay, and this is Jurisvicus et al. 2018, Stupel et al. 2018, Van Cloveen et al. 2018. These are all papers that can be looked up and read that contain this information. Psychological conditions such as cognitive diminution, emotional instability, anxiety, and neuroflammation are also correlated. So, what this is saying is that the cloud formations that we're seeing, the amount of illnesses due to cardiac, the young people who are experiencing cardiac issues and the psychological issues that we are seeing in all the people, these could be causative of this magnetic reversal and the weakening of our magnetosphere, which is allowing these radiations to come into our system. We've known for a while that our ozone level is being depleted. They're just not telling you why. And actually, what can they tell you that would, I kind of understand where they're at in this, because how do you tell a 8 billion people that there might be an extinction level event occurring in, say, 50 to 100 years, and that things would be steadily getting worse for us as far as climate, crop loss, disease, and illnesses because of this? How do you explain that to people without causing panic? Well, the way you do that is you provide solutions to this, and there are solutions. There are many solutions, but you have to know what the problem is to get there. And look at it this way. There's been extinction level events that have occurred, and they are correlated to the magnetic weakening of our Earth. due to the sun's inactivity, the minimums that have occurred. Ice ages have occurred due to these minimums. But we are here. So that means that we made it through. And with less technology and the ability than we have now. So if we know that they did it back then we can surely do it today. But we have to be smart about it. And we have to realize that a lot of what we depend on today is not going to help us in the future. That we need to find new ways of growing food, that we need to find new ways of shelter, that we need to protect ourselves from the radiation that is currently hitting us, plus the stronger radiations that will be coming the further we get into these minimums. Now, they were thinking that we were going to have what would be considered a mild solar minimum. Now they're not so sure. Now they're not exactly sure where we are in the flux because we're still waiting on the sun to let us know, because that's what it's up to. It's up to the sun to let us know how we're going to do, what type of temperatures that we're going to be looking at, the strength of the winds that have been strengthening, the rains, the volcanoes, the hurricanes, all the weather that we're experiencing right now that they are saying, that a lot of people say are due to HAARP or due to this or due to that. We now have some concrete evidence that shows us that these exact same things happen during these minimums. And we are in the early stages of it. We're probably not going to see the full effects of this minimum for another 100 years or more. It may happen sooner, but I think the consensus is that it's more toward the next century than it is where we are at today. But still, there will be changes occurring. It's not as if it will not continue. It's not something that's going to wake up one morning and the minimum is here. It's something that takes decades, sometimes hundreds of years, to affect a full shutdown, of our magnetosphere and the magnetic pole shifts. These are things that we need to look at. In my future shows on Turtle Talk, I'm going to go into this a little bit more, and I'm going to start talking about solutions, what we can do in this time that we're in, and what we can do to make sure that those generations coming behind us will be aware of what they can do also. Things will not be getting easier. Things will get progressively and steadily more severe. And just saying, is that you, Barb?
Hello, I'm here. Yeah, I was just thinking of the how interesting that everyone's being terrified about the global warming, earth changes, and so on and so forth. And right out, and then they're coming up with solutions with the problem they have already created. But this is something that is the natural shift, and has happened before. And so there's so many different things written on this. Experts are predicting a long, deep solar minimum, and then another solar minimum may bring 50 years of global cooling. What it could mean, and so on. Is a mini ice age on the way? Yeah, so, there's a lot of things you could look at and search on this stuff, and I guess I'd say, like we always say, right, sis, we just go do your research and don't panic and don't get in fear, just put it all together, and, and there are solutions, like you said, and it's sad and unfortunate that the authorities, I'm not surprised, I suppose, the authorities are not assisting the people to understand this process is unfolding and how everyone, how they could help or how we could be helped or what we might do. rather than just, not alerting people. But they're alerting them to something that is interesting in the opposite direction, that is really not factual. And so I'm not surprised. Of course, there's many things that they haven't disclosed to us because they think we cannot handle it. So, just looking at all this, what you're saying here.
Yeah, and a lot of this is the thing, is that we can look. We see that we're having tectonic plate movement,
right.
But those are the major plates. They are active and they remain active, but there are other less severe plates or fractures where we have tectonic activity that have been dormant for so long. Well, they're waking now, and we talked, I think it was last week, didn't we, on the grounding and how we need to exchange energy.
Earthing,
Right.
The earthing.
Exchanging energy with the earth and stuff. Well, the solar system, we have a repellent that is called a magnetosphere that repels a lot of radiation and energy from coming into the earth.
Right.
It's weakened now, so we're getting twice as much. So if we can be affected by the energy that we get from the earth, then anything that comes into the earth is going to disperse. That's what it does. That's why we have thunderstorms. That's why we have movements. That's why we have volcanoes. It's the earth's way of grounding itself again, of being able to release energy pent up. And radiation is energy. The more radiation that comes through, the more we're going to see these things. Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of natural things occurring that have once occurred before, like the pole shifts. We talked about that last week, about the scientists had set the I guess the gauges or the times or the movements of the poles, and as soon as they put that out for, it's for aviation and so on, the sudden shift. So the North Pole is shifting out of Canada into Siberia. It actually crossed the meridian into Siberia. And so I just remember the prophecies that there would be a time when once again the sun would not rise in the east, it would rise in the west. So all these things are unfolding here, many things, many prophecies, but also the same types of changes that the earth is going through. But it's not just the earth, because we are in relationship to all that is above. And, in the cosmic system, the moon, the stars, the sun, everything are all doing their thing. And like you say, we can't stop that. I mean, that's something that has occurred before. It's in our timeline now where we're heading toward that. But we do see the plates shifting. We see an excess of weather patterns that are quite severe and unusual. And we also know that the technologies are messing with that as well, but there are also natural things involved here, So I think it's important. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've talked a little bit, I've talked a little bit about the chemtrailing, and we know they do it for several reasons. Anything they do is not just for one reason. They have several reasons for doing things. And the aluminum that is being put in the air, the barium and the strontium, the three things these things have in common is they absorb radiation.
I was just going to say, and they're reflectors also.
Right. And so, and the cloud cover that we've been experiencing, well, in a solar minimum situation where the magnetosphere becomes weaker, the atmosphere will produce more clouds simply to mitigate the radiation that is coming through. It has to equal out the energies in the atmosphere, and this is the way it does it. So, and again, I want to stress there's nothing to panic. There's no reason to panic, because this is a natural occurrence. It has happened before, it will happen again, and the earth will still be here. And there are things we can do to get through this. It's okay. It's not going to be easy, but then what has been easy? You know? Let's look at it. Right now we're being ruled by crazies who have done nothing to benefit us and only to benefit themselves. So, and we've been struggling all this time. We can do this. It's not something that we can't do. And like Vanessa's putting in the chat right there, hemp also absorbs radiation or neutralizes. There are things we can do. You know, and the Hopi, they told us, they said, go to the forest, go to the mountains. These are things that you can do. You can build your own shelters. You can. There are so many things you can do. We now have the technology and the ability to grow nutrition in our homes. You know, we have the ability to provide our own healing. We've talked about it before, tribing up, getting with your communities, working and bringing people together who can all work together for the same purpose. This is that time. This is that time. And if we can come together, you know, there's nothing that we can't do. But we just need to be aware. We can go ahead and we can keep blaming the cabal, and we can blame this one, and we can blame that one. But if we fail to see the truth as it really is, that yes, the cabal is to blame, they're doing some bad things, but that there are cyclical events that will continuously reoccur, and that we find ourselves in one of those cyclical events if we don't pay heed to this, and we don't at least do our due diligence and research this, then we are caught unawares, and it would be by willful ignorance. It would not be because the knowledge was not there for you and the ability to find your solutions was not there for you. It would be because you chose not to look at it. And we all have that choice. We all have that choice. No one here is going to experience the worst of what the minimum will bring. No one here. It will be to the next generations that this will fall to. This is, like I said, this is not something that's going to happen tomorrow or 10 years or 20 years from now. Although we are going to be experiencing these shifts in climate, in the geostructure of our Earth, in the tides, in the weather. You know, we just had a storm that started out on the other side of the Dakotas and went across the U.S. for 1,000 miles. It was bands, one behind the other, of storms pushing 100-mile-per-hour winds. 1,000 miles. This is unprecedented. 1,000-mile storm. HAARP didn't do that. It's our system, this Earth, mitigating the energy levels that it knows it has to. Okay? And this is the way it does it. You know, nature is not, you know, we think of nature and we think, oh, it's so beautiful, and the fuzzy little animals and the cutesy. Nature can be savage. And it will be savage. But if you're prepared, then you can mitigate these actions upon you and your families. But like I said, you know, there's no reason to panic. Please don't panic. I'm not doing this for you to panic. I'm doing this just so that you may have a better understanding of what we're dealing with and how we're going to get through this. Just saying. And a lot of people... Go ahead.
I was going to say there's a lot of interesting information. I just put in a link from the Organic Prepper. He's talking about the solar minimums, and of course the difference is the grand solar minimum compared to a solar minimum, which is on average, every 11 year, there is one, the solar minimum. But the grand solar minimum, or the Maunder Minimum, is, something different. And like you said, so we're talking about the Maunder Minimum coincided with the coldest part of the little ice age, 1500 to 1850, in the northern hemisphere, where the Thames River froze, and so on. You have people moving around, like the Viking settlers abandoned Greenland, and Norwegian farmers demanded that the Danish king recompense them for lands occupied by advancing glaciers. But what you said before, so all this was going on, yet people survived, and it was definitely a challenge. But if we know and are able to prepare in certain ways, we can deal with these types of things that are naturally happening, and that's very important. So there are people like the organic prepper. There are many other people that are onto this and been looking at this for a long while and sharing things with people, like we have noticed here in upstate New York, a change in our planting time. They put out a map every year on the when to plant certain seeds and so on, and we've noticed that these times are shifting for us here, and as they are everywhere. So I'm just saying that, as it was interesting what you said. This was quite a severe experience for the people during that time period. But there was also, I guess others. If you can look up and you can see. Aside from that data I just gave you, there were others, other times, and it speaks about what would happen or what could possibly happen and how to deal with these things. So, yeah, it's important to do your research, and like you say, not panic, and that's for sure.
Right, and this is the time, and the one thing I love about People for People is we're talking a lot about nutrition and the part that it plays in our health. This will become very, very important the further we get into this, that we provide for ourselves a nutrition regimen that we can ourselves be in control of, and that has to do with growing. And like I said, you can grow your nutrition in your home, and you can fare very, very well just doing it in your own home. So we have solutions, and the grounding, the earthing, this will become very, very important. It is important now, but it will become essential. And so these are things that they don't seem like much, but when it comes to dealing with these new, and they're not new, but new to us being affected by them, these radiations from gamma and solar winds that are now making their way through our magnetosphere. That's why nutrition and these earthing things are going to be so important, that we need to start paying attention to what we're doing, with our own bodies and stuff. And then again, go ahead.
I think when you're taking care of yourself, your health of body, mind, and spirit, it helps you to have clarity. It helps you to make better decisions and determinations and discern things around you in a better way, rather than being panicked and filled with anxiety and various other things out of balance, that doesn't help us under any circumstance. Even, forget the solar, the solar minimum, around any circumstances that we are dealing with in this timeline. These, this is important, that we have, harmony, do the earthing, have harmony of mind, body, and spirit, so that we can think clearly, critically, and have a better, foundation, more strength, and certainly we need that inner power to function in a better way for ourselves and our families. So, That's important.
Yes, and that was my segue. My segue into Tracey Kennedy, because Tracey Kennedy has been proactive in her own health for many, many decades. She has struggled and fought a fight against a disease that not many of us even have a clue as to what a struggle it is. I've known Tracey for a very, very long time, and she's one of the strongest women I have come to know, and her determination is what has gotten her to this point. And she has been dealing with her dis-ease for a very, very long time, and she took a different path about, what was it, Tracey, almost a year ago, to take control of her dis-ease, even after the doctors told her, you're done,
Oh, they still say I'm done.
Yeah.
They still
It's
do.
amazing, Tracey. You are amazing.
September 11th will be a year.
Yeah, and it's been a struggle. It's not something that, people think, oh, you go get stem cell therapy and then boom, you're okay, everything's all right. But it's not that easy. It does work. It is amazing, but that's not all of it. You have put in the work that takes to go with this in order to get to where you are today. And that's what I want you to talk about now, is where you are today, how you got there, and what you're seeing for the future.
I would love to. I'd love to. I realize probably most people here haven't heard me before, but I took this on like I would take on a research project. It's interesting what you were talking about, Patty, because today the Sumerian word of the day is Ka. It's from Egyptian. They don't say it is, but I think it is. And the Egyptians talk about the time of the Ka. We are now in a solar cycle where we are in the lion's mouth. Ka means mouth, usually. With Sumerian and Egyptian, that's why I think they're probably the same guys. So while I was looking at a cycle for myself, and that's why I chose September 11th, exactly at 11 o'clock, exactly in a perfect place in Canada, too. That this not only is yes, there are many celestial things going on right now. We probably don't even know the half of it. But what I'm using this time for, it's something that even Nietzsche talked about, it. The Egyptians spoke of, that there is a recurring 33-year cycle that you, as a human being, have a right to tap into. So I know it'll sound crazy. Unless you've looked at my pictures from the last 3 weeks, I am regenerating. There is nothing else can be said. You can't
amazing.
Not see this. You can't not see this. My son came in with 2 of his friends, and they're boys. You've met him. They're ridiculous. A bomb could go off next to my son, and he will not notice. He came in and just sat and stared at me. I didn't say anything for 20 minutes. It was a little creepy. I have biohacked the heck out of myself. Yes, I got the stem cells. The stem cells is a major thing. Unfortunately, because the U.S. is putting their big fat nose into it, it looks like they would just use bone marrow stem cells instead of the belly fat stem cells that they got mine from, which they actually use in surgeries all over the world and have for a very, very long time. So it looks like I may be the first and last group to even get that. But what I'm doing now is I am keeping the stem cells reactivated. With stem cells, and we all have them, all, you'd be dead right now if you didn't have them. I found diet to increase them. I found supplements to increase them. And I'm not holding back, guys, because I don't want to say it. It's just what they found out recently from the real science that is actually getting out there is as long as you can find a diet that does not raise your glucose or insulin, that is your diet. It takes a while to find it. I've gone to naturopaths who are actually giving me IVs full of vitamins. Oh my God, I feel like a superhero. There's a Chinese clinic downtown here that was giving me, actually my son was going there for some exercise stuff, but they were giving me supplements. And I finally just went in there and said, look, you got to have something else. What do you guys got? Come on. Pretend I'm not Canadian. What do you got? What do you really got? So they've shown me massage to do on myself at home. I've gone to super expensive people because unfortunately you need functional medicine for this, and most places do not pay for the real medicine that's out there. So what I'm doing is changing myself, and I've got a trainer that I went in for one day because I'm broke, obviously. I spent all my friggin' money, all of it, and still doing it, but diet, calorie restriction, which is horrific, don't even try it, it's awful, and exercise. He said he's going to have me down to 18% body fat in 4 weeks. I've never been that. Not as a kid, not as an athlete, never. But if you would look at my face, just my face, what I've been able to do in the last 2 weeks, I'm a believer now. I'm a believer.
I am too. I am too, because I've been watching you, and it is amazing. I have to say, you can actually see it, hear it, and even feel it now in your videos.
I feel
It's
it.
amazing. Yes.
Yeah, I feel it. It's obvious. At first, I was feeling a little something right from the day after I got the stem cells. But now, I'm a different person. I haven't felt like this since I was a kid, and I realize now how long I've had this MS. Because some of the things that have been just kind of opening up in me, because I've used a lot of hypnosis too. So I went into this deeply. I ended up this time talking to people with MS. I didn't even want to be around them. But talking to them, and I realized this, like most chronic illnesses that are taking us out right now, start with an emotional trigger, trauma, a fall, a death, something like that. And then you get various symptoms. They call it different things. But this is, I haven't felt like this in so long, I can't even tell you guys.
And
Tracey.
you're walking too.
And I got up and walked, and I was told that would never happen. And I did it not with my walker. I held onto a bar at the side at where I work out, and I walked. I started with 3 steps. I did 12 on Monday. I did 45 today.
I wanted to ask you, you mentioned the various things. It starts with a fall or it starts with a death.
Yeah.
Do you think that we could identify this, I mean, almost as like a PTSD, that we're dealing, it's not just people who go to war. I think
Yes,
it seems
exactly.
right?
You know, Barb, from what I saw this time, talking to people who, I mean, men who were still working, were 45 to 50 and physically strong that has strokes. Yeah, I think it starts with an emotional pain. That's why so many are sick. Yep. They're in pain. They're trying to drug them. People are happy because we have marijuana in Canada. This is not the same marijuana. This is not the marijuana your grandparents grew in the backyard. This is not okay. This is not good. This is not healthy. We are being drugged because they don't know what to do with us.
Right. Well, that's the
pill pain that is not really from an illness.
Take
the
a pill.
The pain we're feeling is something else.
So you have the from fibromyalgia spikes. You have all these diseases coming in where now
children having heart attacks.
Children having heart attacks, brain tumors at 3 months old, and all kinds of stuff. We've never seen this type of stuff before. But to me, it's sort of like people now, fibromyalgia is the norm now. It's just one of the norms that people have these pains in their body. They don't even know what it is. It's just like these pains.
They're in pain. You know, I have an illness where my body was attacking myself. That is not normal.
No.
Autoimmune doesn't happen. I'm sorry, it's not. It is not an illness. It isn't. It's something else that probably started from trauma, and we don't help because we don't know how to deal with it.
Well, I've got a 37-year-old here who has 4 stents in his arteries right now, and they're telling him that he needs 2 more. At 37 years old, he's had 2 heart attacks.
My son's friend at 27 just had to have 2 hip replaced.
What?
2
hip
replacements. And he was an athlete. No, we are crumbling under this pressure.
So now, I was looking at this this scientist who was talking about the trillions of cells within our bodies, and how he came to realize that with each one of these cells is an intelligence. And that each one of these cells, whatever the person thinks or focuses on or believes, reacts accordingly to what those beliefs are. They respond accordingly. It's like a message or a brainwashing or whatever you want to call it. So the imprints of someone speaking to us, like a doctor that says, well, you have 6 months to live, and the person, if they focus on that and believe that, they are basically speaking to the trillions of cells in their body that believe it as well, and they react accordingly to that. We're dying, you know.
You know, Barb, I thought this was theory until I spent a lot of money on these stem cells and went to a place and I saw this guy have a handheld device to find my veins, because my veins are tiny. And I watched my veins move out of the way when they wanted to give me an IV, and it looked like my veins chose where that was going to go in.
Right.
In my body. And I'm a believer now. I'm a believer.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But, you know, this is interesting, though, because the Simetons, Dr. Carl and Stephanie Simeton, were the forerunners of this body-mind-spirit relationship. And they have helped many people who were told by doctors, go home, you have 6 months to live, to go into remission. And they are using visualization and talking to the immune system and various other things, and food, of course, diet, exercise, meditation, and so on. And speaking to the body seems to be very key. And we're always speaking to our body, right? I mean, we say terrible things to our bodies.
Yeah, we do, especially women. You know, in Canada, for instance, in 1940s, there were equal amount of men and women diagnosed with MS.
Wow.
Now, it's 4 to 1.
Really?
So we have not only made it worse, we have targeted it and weaponized it. Women can't handle this life. Men can't handle this life. children are giving up and killing themselves because of this life.
That's true. Yeah.
Right now, we can choose. And that's what the big thing I think about this time is. We are either in the lion's mouth being digested, or we are in the lion's mouth being carried like a child. Decide whether or not you are part of this earth or you are not, and it's out to get you. It's a choice.
Well,
it's a choice I made.
It's like this, your state of mind changed, right? I mean, your state of mind.
I had to become someone else.
Right.
It was the only way. I haven't cured any illnesses. I haven't. I am not that person. I've changed.
Well, I think this is what we've been constantly talking about from the time I've known you, all the years we've been on radio together, way in the past, talking about this timeline is the time of change. It's the time of your choice. You have to choose. You're going to either choose life, choose joy, right? Choose happiness and health and well-being, or not.
Or you can choose death. That's a choice too.
You could choose that. Many people do. Many people are. Many people are hopeless and feel helpless.
Yep. And they're miserable and they know it.
But it's becoming like an epidemic.
It is.
Well,
it actually is the epidemic, I think.
Yeah.
Depression is at epidemic proportions.
And we haven't been taught what to do.
Well, I think we've been taught all the wrong things deliberately, and that's my perspective, and I think that that's part of a dirty agenda and a very dark thing, and I think that people are really so stuck in these false beliefs about themselves and about everything, about life, and it's working. It's really, it's strangling people, and they are, like you said, they're in the lion's mouth being devoured.
Well, talking a little bit more about the stem cells, they are being, or have been, I know that you just said there's changes being made to where now it's a bone marrow process instead of going through the stomach fat.
That's what's preferred in cases. United States is leaning towards that, and they work too, but you have to kill your entire immune system.
Wow.
And then take it out, Or you take it from your belly. It's your body. And here's what they're doing. They're not making it legal. They're calling that a drug. The stem cells from your belly are a drug. They can't make it. And it's specific to you. So just like diet, and this is why I said I can't tell you what to eat. And this is what has been proven. Your stem cells are different for you. You can't take your stem cells and put them in someone else. You can, but it's stupid. So this is actually our natural way of healing ourselves. And because of the diet and the work that I'm doing, I've triggered it. There's nothing else that can explain what's happening to my face. I know it sounds weird, like I'm just bragging, but this isn't just my skin. My jaw is changing. My lips have changed. My body is changing now.
Well, yeah, and I can attest to that because I followed you from the very beginning, and it is more than apparent with the last, I'd say, 3 video blogs that you've done. And by the way, anyone not familiar, you can go and look at the progress. You can look at her from the first blog that she did all the way up into her most recent on Tracey's Tracks on YouTube. And it's amazing to me. You blew me away 3 weeks ago, or you're the third one back. But this last one you did, I mean, the energy, you can see it, the vibrancy, the changes, like you said, in your facial structure, all of it is just amazing to me. It is visible. It's not just you saying this. I can attest to it because I've been watching you, and it is amazing. I must say. It's been really, really eye-opening for me.
Well, I've gotten a lot of help to find out what to do because we're not really given a lot of information. And when someone has information, we usually hear just information that worked for one person, and then they think everyone can do that. You can't. So this has been something I have fought for. I feel really good. I haven't felt like this probably ever. Probably ever.
Yeah, you put the work into it. You definitely, it's not something that you just go get the stem cell therapies and you sit back and watch it all take place. It's
no, if I
nothing
had
like
lots
that.
of money, I'd keep going back and getting it. I'd be getting one of those a month if I had the money. Instead, I had to come home and learn about this body. So I had to start listening to all the new stuff about fasting, all the new stuff about time-restricted eating, all the new stuff about exercise. And then I had to go to a nutritionist, and we had to test
Pills.
what I could and could not eat.
He'll bring it.
And the vitamins, oh my God, when I found out there were IV vitamins, whew, that was amazing. And the supplements that I can take. And now I can actually digest vegetables. I couldn't do that for a couple of years. My body was so stressed it wouldn't let me eat. So I had a hard time.
But I noticed the difference in what you're talking about, and even what Duncan Brown is speaking about, the results of self-treating. So participating in your healing, not just handing yourself over, but participating. Like you say, you had to go home and learn about your body. You had to go home and learn to listen to your body. The body is extraordinary. It will tell us. It will give us signals and even information about what it needs, what it's missing, and so on. How to take care of it. So it's self-treating, and it's involved in your own health and well-being. Not just handing yourself over to medical doctors and saying, help me or heal me or take care of me. You have to participate, right?
Yeah, I started to listen. Needed to listen to my body. When your body knows you're listening, things change.
Also, I noticed one main thing that the Siametans said was they noticed a big difference in people that they were working with. The difference in those who had the will to live and those who could not conjure that will to live. Very big difference.
Yeah, you have to want it.
Yep.
The universe wants us to participate. You give up, it's done with you.
Yeah.
Don't let the universe be done with you. That was my biggest lesson.
Yep.
That was my biggest.
Yep.
Well, the thing I've realized over the years are the insertions of information, of harmful information about ourselves, and the missing pieces, the wrong information, the lies, and to identify ourselves and know ourselves as sacred beings, sacred children who are significant, that every person, every human being is so significant and necessary. So to really know yourself wholly and fully as that is very different than listening to the voices in your head that were imprinted there, planted in there, that tell you you're worthless, or you're no good, or I'm going to die, I'm ill, or I could get an illness, or it's a hopeless state of everything, and I'm being terrified. It's a very big difference, being active in life rather than being active in creating your death. I mean, we're all on that journey anyway, but live your life fully while you're here, right?
Exactly. At this point, I realized that I am an adult now. No one is hurting me now. No one is making me do things in this moment now. I have total control of what I do. That makes everything different. I'm no longer living in the past by some old mistakes that other people's may or may not have even done. We don't have a memory that can recall exactly. They say half of what we remember didn't even happen. So you can choose who you are right now. And that's what I'm doing. And it's not even guessing anymore. I can see it.
That's true. That's so true.
It's like people live their whole lives.
Me.
What?
I trust me.
Yeah, that's big. That is so big. So people live their whole lives plagued by guilt or shame or self-hatred, self-loathing. I mean, people live like that.
Most do. Eh?
Yep. And that causes the sickness of the body. It's like
pain.
It's like
it causes pain.
Yeah, you might as well stand there and hit yourself with a stick or
a stick or a knife. Cut yourself and
cut yourself. And some people do that. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I was doing.
Oh.
When I realized that, I just stopped.
I think this is such a big piece right there that you're just sharing, is to say that that's what I was doing, to identify that's what I was doing to myself. And then you go, why? Why? What's like you said, you're in charge now. Nobody's screaming at you, nobody's hurting you, nobody's punishing you.
No one's making me do stuff, no one's making me eat things I don't want, nobody's making me anything. So at this moment, in this time, everything that happens to me, I did.
That's right. That's right. And it's our choice to take things personally or not and get all upset, right?
Yeah. If I'm in a situation I don't like it, I leave. I don't have to sit and argue. I don't have to justify myself. I don't have to change anyone's mind. I leave. If they want to come back and have a discussion with me and we talk it out, we could do that. But no, I'm not going to argue ever again. Never.
Well, I think it's like the defending of oneself. People feel they have to defend themselves to others,
Yeah.
Why?
We want love. We want to be loved. And instead of reaching out for a hug, we usually reach out with the stick.
That's correct.
Because we don't know that we're lonely and sad and need each other. So we have backed ourselves into a corner. But the nice thing about now is if you want to know things, you can find them out. You can now. Nothing is hidden.
That's a fact. And if you want to promote health, you have to come at it, and you have to come at it with a dedication to self, and that empowerment that says that I am capable. I am capable strong. In mind, body, and spirit,
Yes. Exactly.
I think the words...
Like you say, Tracey, everybody has their own way of healing themselves. It's not a cookie-cutter solution to optimum health. It is individualized to each of us, and it is that knowing, that you have put into practice, and that we, as individuals, need to put into practice into our lives. Like you said, the information is out there. You want knowledge on anything, it is there for you to find. Having the ability to say, this works for me, and that doesn't, is important for us, because we cannot just take the blanket effect and say, okay, I'm going to try what everybody's trying and it's going to work just like they did, because then we become disillusioned and we say, well, that must not be real.
Everyone has their own special magic, and everyone's needed. if you weren't needed, the Earth wouldn't have made you. Billions of things in this galaxy would not have happened, so you could be here in this moment. You are needed, and you are different, and needed and loved. That's all we need.
And the thing is, I think people have to come to terms with the issue of their deserving, what they deserve, what they don't deserve. I'm not deserving of, I'm not worth. Yeah, that's a big piece.
We have to remember that, look in the mirror, and I've been doing a lot of mirror work, and I really recommend it for everyone. Look in the mirror, and even if you don't believe it, look in the mirror and say, I love you. You're beautiful. And everyone knows it. You may smile, you may laugh, and even if you laugh, it's excellent. You are hypnotizing yourself at that moment. Look in the mirror and tell yourself you're loved. In a day, you start to change. It's true.
Yeah, because all those trillions of cells in your body are going, woohoo!
And you're talking to the membrane that's on the outside of the cell, and that may be the biggest, most important thing we have.
You're absolutely right there. Yes. A lot of people, when we talk about cells, they think of the cell itself, but it is the membrane.
Right. Right.
Yes. That is very, very important. That membrane is what coalesces that cell, keeps it in structure, keeps the anti out, and the positive in. It is essential, and that is something that is being attacked in our systems. And
yes.
Like we were talking about earlier, the ability of the mind to affect the cellular structure is amazing.
Yes.
That we have that ability, and people don't even connect that dot with themselves, that they have that potential to affect that great a change on a cellular level, because we haven't been taught that. You don't ever get taught that in school. You don't even get taught that in medical school,
Well,
but go ahead.
Even the neurologist, who you would think would understand the brain, I said to him, you know that the brain changes immediately when someone says something negative to you, right? He goes, yes. I said, then why are you giving information like this to everyone who comes in? You know you're doing harm then. Well, it doesn't work like that. I said, no, Doc, it does work like that. So I fired my neurologist, and I haven't felt empowered.
Right.
Yeah. When I got home and I called my dad, he just applauded and said, he goes, you're going to get better now. He goes, I know it. And that's actually when the big change started to happen.
Wow.
That's when I got up 2 weeks ago and friggin' walked.
It's like, the plant kingdom, studies have been done about when you think that you're going to harm a plant, it reacts in terror.
It knows.
It knows. So it's just like the same thing. So.
And we must know what each other are thinking.
Yeah, so your doctor, so your neurologist is thinking one thing, and
horrible things.
Your body is reacting to the atmosphere around you, to what he is emanating. That's
the body said, "Get out."
Very powerful.
Listen this time.
Well, it's like a crowded theater, and somebody yells fire. The immediate thing, whether there's a fire or not, is people panic and they run and they lose it. That's what happens in your system when someone is giving you this information that is telling you that you have no choice, that you have no control, that your body is giving up, and that it's all over. I mean, your cellular structure is just going crazy. It's like, okay, we're dying. Like yelling fire, and we're all affected by this emotionally, mentally, and then physically, and also spiritually. It's no wonder that we're so depressed, because everything that we hear is on a negative bent. Everything. There's hardly any positiveness out there, and when there is, it seems like it is quickly covered, so that we live in this perpetual shade of darkness, that there's nothing I can do. I am just a simple me, and I have no ability, I have no power to change things. Oh, woe is me. When it's completely opposite. The reason why we're in the situation that we're in right now with all of this fear out there is because we're all propagating it. We're all allowing it to breed and to grow. Whereas if we were to treat ourselves in a respectable, loving, kind, and caring manner, then we would see that change. Not only in our physical body, but without also. They've done a really good job.
We got to love ourselves first.
Yeah.
If you don't, you cannot love another person. It doesn't matter how nice you think you sound. It doesn't matter. They know you're lying, like your body knows you're lying. So you got to find a way to find out, to look in that mirror and love that person. You can't love anyone else until you do that.
Right. Well, we know you got to go, Tracey.
But I've got to go. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for everything. Thanks for listening.
Well, we're going to have to get you back on, and don't worry, I'm going to be watching and cheering you on all the way. You are an inspiration. Please, anybody listening, Tracey Tracks on YouTube. Please
the work really starts tomorrow, and it's going to be tough, but I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I am excited.
Lots of love, Tracey. You're really very inspiring. I'm very happy to hear what's going on with you. Really.
Pretty happy about everything that's happened. I'm stoked.
Beautiful.
I've got a boyfriend.
Whoa.
Oh, really?
He's a pervert too, so I've got that to look.
Oh, that's a whole other show.
I'm still in the wheelchair. That's disgusting. Oh my goodness.
That's a whole other show. Woo.
Okay, see you later.
Okay,
Bye.
love you.
Hey guys, love you too. Thank you for having me on.
It's wonderful to have you. Okay, and I think we'll go to a short break, and
Okay.
we'll be back after that, and we'll figure out where we're going.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
All right, you're listening to Turtle Talk on People for People Radio.
Unbelievable!
Okay, and we are back, everybody, and I played that song. The reason why I like that song so much, Styx, Fooling Yourself, is we spend a lot of time fooling ourselves. It's what we do best. We are living the most wondrous experience that could ever be. Yet here we are in this experience, and we're giving ourselves away to the negative, to that which does not benefit us, simply because we've forgotten how beautiful and truly magical we are, and this gift that we have called life, and this experience. And we lose sight of a lot of things when we give ourselves over to the outside influences that are constantly being put out there in front of us. There's a buffer now, it seems, between our gratitude and our fear. And the fear seems to be ever prevalent, while we forget that we're not a part of that fear. We simply choose to adopt it into our lives, that it really can have no effect on us unless we choose to allow it to. And me and Barb were talking during the break. Tracey's one of those people. Tracey's been through a lot. Those of you who know Tracey know that for decades she has struggled, and there have been really dire times in her life. But it wasn't until Tracey decided that I'm done with that I'm going to make my own truth, and I'm going to walk my walk in love of self, that things actually change for her. And they are changing for her in wonderful, beautiful, miraculous ways. We're all the same in that respect. And Barb and me were talking during the break about the things that we have to be grateful for, that we forget because we get caught up. Like you said, Barb, I mean, life as we know it today doesn't offer too many venues for self-gratification, for self-validation anymore. We live in a world that is constantly telling us how inadequate we are, you know, and so we've got to step up for ourselves, not for anything else, but for ourselves, because it doesn't matter what this life, this outside influence is. What matters is what's inside of you and your walk, what you bring, what you live, what you experience through this. And we have control of that, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking earlier today, you know, going out and sitting, having my coffee in the woodshed and saying hello to everybody and good morning and gratitude. You know, thinking about the internal imprints that we are not aware of that have been placed there, some deliberately and some, you know, certainly not deliberately. It's not like our parents set out to imprint us with, you know, disgust of ourselves or self-loathing. But we have a system involved that we are under that seems to impress upon us as when we're children that we are, number one, not sacred, you know, that we're born with sin, if you were in that system, but that we are not sacred, and they have to create us who we are. Well, we were already created from unconditional love and joy. I truly feel that just looking at a little tiny one, their innocence, their joy of everything, their wonder and awe of everything. They're reaching for this and want to taste that and touch that and go here and go there, jump in puddles, roll in the dirt. Just the awe that the little innocent ones, they have no prejudices, they have no self-loathing, they have no fear. But the society, the system has placed all of this detrimental, you know, messages inside of us, sewn them in and knotted them in somewhere inside of our heads. And I was thinking of that because half the time we are completely unconscious to the patterns that overrule and overwhelm us and play on a regular basis. And a lot of it is self-denigrating. A lot of it is speaking to us in a harmful, hurtful way. And we don't even realize that, you know, to realize that you were created as a sacred child, to realize that you were created with many gifts that were meant to be shared, significant things, that you are significant. You wouldn't be here if you were not meant to be here and if you were not significant enough to be here. And so looking at that, it's sort of like I recall a time, some of those knotted messages that were very strong knots in my own experience about my gifts. You know, I was hiding because of, you know, fear of being harmed for who I was, because I was harmed for who I was. So that early message came, the message that says to you, who do you think you are? You know, as a little person, well, I knew who I was, but then now I'm questioning it because, wait a second, somebody who is in authority position says to me, well, who do you think you are? In a negative. And so then you say, well, okay, maybe I don't know who I am. Maybe I'm wrong. Well, this person is looking at me with a sneer or distaste. And, well, who am I? What am I then? And so then you start getting confused. And so, but these imprints are really strong in our minds. And so what they do is over time, they put us in this place where we deny our own sacredness. We deny our own sacred gifts and the things that we are meant to be sharing with openness and freedom and joy to others, you know, with others. So instead, we want to hide. I'm going to hide because I'm not going to I'm not going to go through that again. That's too painful to be attacked like that, to be ashamed, to feel that shame, and also the fear. Because here I am, and we all want to be loved. We need to be loved. We need to be validated, and we were not. So we determined various other things to hide. We hide ourselves. And deny ourselves, deny our sacredness, deny the gifts that we were meant to share. And when I came to that in my own experience, my own journey, many years back, I really felt heartbroken because I realized not only the times that I denied myself because I had to hide for fear of being harmed, but I denied the Great Spirit. I denied the Creator who created me from unconditional love and joy, and put inside of me some gifts that were meant to be shared, and I was denying what I love so much and was so grateful for, because I equate this Mother Earth and this miracle of life as so sacred and essential and beautiful, but I wasn't able to do that for myself, and that was a big eye-opener, boy, when I was like, wow, I've been denying my sacredness. And it's easy to say to other people, oh, you're sacred. You're all sacred. But I'm not so much there. But that's sort of like a hidden message that you have to find. You have to find those messages and root them out. You have to untie those knots. You have to release that stuff. And Tracey's been doing that. She's been, creating herself in the image of Great Spirit, the original self, recreating that, and that's what I think we all have to do, right, sis?
Yeah, I agree, and that's the thing that I think that the greatest message that Tracey does have today is that it's all about you. It's all about what you become, and you have that choice. You decide. Nobody else makes that decision. You make that decision. And I agree. We all come up in life. As children, the world is magical, and there are no checks and balances when you're a child. When you're a child, it's all about the experience. It's everything to you. The joy that you wake up in the morning is to be able to experience that day. But as we get older and we allow the encroachment of other people's opinions and world views upon who we are, upon the educational indoctrination system that teaches us that you don't know anything, therefore you have to be silent and only speak when spoken to. You have to do it this way and not that way. You can't think out of the box. You don't have the answers. That we find ourselves suddenly in adulthood thinking, well, I need someone to tell me who I am and what I need to do. I need validation from someone to let me know that I'm doing the right thing. And it's that searching for validation to who we are that we never find. It's never there for us because that validation can only come from ourselves and knowing we are who we are because we choose to be, and that we are all, each individual is beautiful, each individual is valid, and our experiences, they are what we choose them to be. And I've often said that, life will throw all types of circumstances in your direction, and you will find yourself in every type of circumstance. The circumstance is not as important as how you move through that circumstance.
Exactly.
What experience you choose to experience and what lesson you take from it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing in a way. I was going to say that we're not saying that things don't happen and life doesn't suck and sometimes and you're not having a difficult time. I mean, like you said, Tracey's had a really rough time, but she's choosing to deal with it and choosing to accept things and work with it from a different perspective now. not from a defeatist attitude, but filled with that hope and that power that she knows that within her. And this is the difference. It doesn't mean that things don't happen in life. They do. We all have a choice. Again, it's back to how are we going to choose to deal with what it is that we're dealt, because we are going to be dealt stuff. And there are times that things aren't easy, and things are really horrific at times, and things just knock us down. But we can get up, and like we do when we're little, we'd get up and keep going, little bumps and bruises and everything. Still, we just keep going. And so I guess I'd say, here we are at this timeline of we're being dealt a lot, and it's in our hands how we're going to choose to deal with it. You can either be defeated or not. There's two pathways. You can either love or not, or you can either be empowered by your experiences, learn and so on, and grow, or not. You could sit there and just be miserable and point fingers or whatever. This is where we are. It's all in our hands, which is awesome to me. It's like we are in an extraordinary time of awakening, of realizing who we really truly are. And this is why we're talking like this, is to identify who we really truly are, what we have, what capabilities that we do have. And I always say to people that I work with, they tell me their stories, and some of their stories are horrific, and you think when you hear what happened to them as a child, you say, I just can't imagine living through that. I mean, I've had my own stuff sitting there listening to people, and you're thinking, wow, this is a little person, this was a child that endured this, wow, that was a teenager that endured this, and so on. This is an adult. And what comes to my mind, and I say this to them, all that you have endured is monumental, extraordinary, but yet you're here. You made it here to this moment in time. That tells me there's something within you, very powerful and purposeful. You're here now. So I always say that to people, right, sis? I mean, you think about the journeys that people have been on and what they've endured and the the terrible things, but yet something brought them through. And I want people to look at that something, because it is very key. It's not just a thing. It's really significant.
Yes, it is. Especially looking at our environment today, and I'm not just talking about the natural environment. I'm talking about the environment procured through generations of authority and control, and what we're up against. Me and Barb were also talking during the break about our ancestors and how their lives were so simple in respect to expectations of self and in expectations of what the world offered. It was a simpler time because we could see within our own walk at that time, our ancestors, the benefits of what they did. They were clear and they were present. And so there was that constant validation. They lived in a world in which there was harmony, and so they could indulge in that themselves. There was no reason for them to feel negative about what they were doing. Today, we live in a negative atmosphere, and it's being propagated, it's being programmed, and we don't live that simple experience of waking up and knowing that day was our day, that day we were going to enjoy life. Today we wake up and we have so many expectations on ourselves, placed upon ourselves by ourselves. I have to perform today. I have to go to work today. I have to do this today. I have to be this today. If not, society will turn its back on me. Society will judge me. Society will tell me that I am wrong. And so we hide ourselves. We close ourselves off and we decide, I can't be myself. I have to be the expectations that are being placed on me.
Right.
So we turn away from our own validation, and we become that which we cannot possibly ever satisfy. The expectations put on us by authority, by society, can never be perfected. We can never find our place in society because society will always judge, will always rule, will always try to control that is within us that should never be controlled. And that's the true essence of who we are. Our experience, our expression. We try so hard to fit in, to be part of, that we take ourselves further apart from who we truly are. So we're kind of floating in a void. We're neither attached nor disattached. We're trying to become that which we can't possibly become while ignoring that which we truly are. It's no wonder,
right. Really. And good words, sis. And yes, and we talked about, well, our ancestors, of course, didn't have technology. They didn't have distractions. And there's so many distractions now. You get up and right away there's a distraction, and that's sitting right next to you, the cell phone or the TV or whatever it is. These distractions, what they do is they draw you in energetically so that you don't have the ability of awareness, of critical thinking, of connectedness, not only to your body, but to your surroundings and to the reality of things, the beauty all around you. So this is where we are today, is as we see the rising technology that is distracting everyone so much so that the selfie issue is basically killing people. I think more people are dying from selfies than car accidents. I don't know. I don't have the statistics, but I'm just saying that where are we today in this big picture, individually and collectively, as I guess I would say as aware of where we are, an awareness, a communication, a relationship, a connectedness. We're sort of out, we've really gotten lost. We don't have the ability to sit quietly, like you say, because we have these things that we must do, we must achieve, we must strive for, we must be according to what others expect of us and so on. Even what we come to expect of ourselves. And this is where we are completely lost. We really don't know. We're just mirroring what society tells us we must be or become or do in order to be acceptable, in order to be successful and sexy, I guess you could say. I'm just saying that it's the technology, I think, that has shifted people away from our truth, like you said, from who we really truly are. We're beings of nature, right?
Well, you look at the social media. I mean, we have brought ourselves to a point of what's omni-important in our daily life now is how many likes we got. And when we get dislikes, there's depression. Depression ensues because of a thumbs down on a post. If we don't get that fix of those likes, then, oh my gosh, we're not valid anymore.
What did I do wrong?
Yeah.
People take it so seriously because that becomes their life. It's almost like people are living vicariously through the likes or the thumbs up, thumbs down, or the TV, or what's happening here or there. They're not really living their own life. They're living a vicarious life.
Through the expectations of others, which they can't ever achieve.
Never will others or the system be satisfied.
And that's what our children are growing up with. Our children are, those of us who are of our age, sis, we've had our feet in both worlds. We came up in the time of I would say, the change into the nuclear, quote, family.
We did. When I was a kid, there was no TV.
Right.
We had, there was nothing like that technology like that. I mean, we had an ice man that came and brought chunks of ice for our refrigerator. You
Milk
know,
in glass bottles on the front porch.
with
you know?
cream,
Yeah.
real cream. And so, yeah, and then suddenly there's a little tiny black and white TV in our house, you know, with one channel, one station, and we listen to radio, you know. So this is, yeah, we have lived in both of these worlds. It's pretty stunning, isn't it, when you see it? And I am not a person of technology. Trust me, it's not something that I've glommed onto or that I am you know, crazy about or whatever. I'm adverse to it in many ways. I think it's adverse to me too, which is okay. you know,
I have the same problem with technology. But I'm not adverse to it. I'm just not savvy with it.
Well, I'm not savvy with it. I'm calling it adverse. But aside from the not savvy with it, I am really, I reject it in a lot of ways because, I mean, I don't have one of those newfangled cell phones. I mean, somebody bought me one to keep in the car in case of emergencies. I mean, I don't even know how to call or answer on it. But I'm just saying, but I see our young people, this is their life. I mean, they all were born into the world of technology that is so extreme, and that's their life.
Yes.
They were not born where you go outside and play in the mud, you know.
Well, and they've become less personal, you know, with each other. It's like if they don't have a screen in front of them in order to communicate, that they're not capable of communicating.
They don't know how to. Yeah, they don't know how to look up and look at each other's eyes.
Right. We
They
have
look
a
at the screen.
society. Yeah, we have a society that is silent. That there's no communication. There's no banter. There's no pleasantries.
Dialogue. No, yeah.
Yeah. Everybody is wrapped up in those thumbs up and thumbs down. You know, the do all and be all of their day. And this is the era of what we are allowing to happen to our children. And we've talked about in the past how they are trying to push us towards merging with the machine. Well, if you look at society today, they're already halfway there.
They
and
are,
if you were to poll the young people and you were to ask them, what would you think about plugging yourself in to the Matrix and being able to live in that world, you would be surprised at how many of those children would think that would be awesome.
That's so true. That's so true. So it's the machine that is winning in a lot of ways. The machine that has kept us from and you wonder why people are so angry. You wonder why people are going crazy. You wonder why people are road raging and whatever they're doing, because there's a missing piece here. They have not been allowed this piece, and they slowly, incrementally work to disconnect us, but it didn't work. Now it's like a free flow, easy job for them to disconnect the children of today from the mother, from nature, from their true essence of who they really are. And there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of rage, and I wonder, you know, I really think that's what's happening.
It is what's happening, and that's why it's even so much more important today that we reach the children, that we take the time to say, turn it off, come with me, take your shoes off, let's go for a walk. You know, this is the time to tell your child or your grandchildren, put away the Game Boy or the Xbox.
Unplug. Just unplug. Yeah.
And come with me, we're going to work in the garden.
Yeah, or I have a story to tell you. I want to talk to you. I have a story to tell you. You know, that's what we were brought up on, the stories. The stories were the teachings.
They were.
The stories with the wisdoms brought the information and the teachings and the insights and everything about life to the children, you know.
And everybody here has a story to tell the children and a moral to that story. That was the great things back then, is that not only did you have these stories that were rich in lore and rich in the adventure of the story itself, but there was a moral to this story that was easily understood, and the children could identify with the characters in this story. They could see what the moral of the story was. There are no morals to the story today. There are no morals. And we're losing our children because of it. And it's not that the children don't want it, it's because they haven't been given the opportunity to have it. My grandchildren, if I tell them, come on, we're going to light a fire, they are so excited because they know it's going to be story time. And that's the one thing that they start yelling about before you even get the fire lit. Is it time for stories yet? Is it time? Who's going to tell the story? Are you going to tell us a story? You know, and they want this. And if your child isn't asking for it, it's probably because they didn't realize that they had stories, that there were stories, you know?
Well, that's how history moves from one generation to another. You know, that's how the wisdoms move from one generation to the other. The way to live, the mysteries of things, the insights, you know, the journeys that our children will take. They will have similar experiences, you know, and that's why we have our elders. Our elders are the ones who guide us and give us the information and insights and stories to help us on our way, because they've already been through it, you know.
And we have so many children today that are in need. You know, here in where I live, in this little area where I live, the children they're aloof. There is no more respect for elders. There is no more respect for property. There is no more respect for nature.
Or themselves.
Or themselves, yes. And it's a shame because the parents, they're uninvolved for whatever reasons, because they work too hard and they come home and they're tired and they just want the kids to leave them alone or whatever, because they think that they're providing their children with the best of the best, the newest technology, the newest craze or fad, that they think they're doing the right thing. And they're not paying attention to their children. And if children aren't taught by you, if they aren't given that basic understanding of the relationship between each other and self, then they're going to only get the information that comes through the tube or through the video game or through the social media.
There will be plenty of others who will give them information.
Yes.
And you won't be involved. You're not setting the foundation blocks for them, really, that they need. So they'll find out information for sure.
Right. And they will act on it. They will do what they need to do to fit into society, because we all played that game. Right? We want to feel like we're validated. They've taught us that. They taught us that in order to be part of, you have to do what everybody else is doing, be what everybody else is being. You can't step out of the box. Now, we figured it out, but our children haven't, because we had the ability still to hear the stories. We had the ability still to ask the questions. Our children don't even know there's questions today. They don't even know that they can ask those questions. So we have to fill in the blanks. And coming up at the top of the hour, people, please stick around, because we got Ouija World coming up, and who knows what he's bringing us this week, but you can guarantee it's going to be interesting and informative. So please stay tuned after the show today. And sis, we got about 6 minutes, I think, left of the show. It's been a really good show. And please check out the links that we put up earlier about the solar issues that we are facing. And my granddaughter's here. Yes, Miss Izzy. Hi, how was your day? Good. You found a treasure? Oh, pretty cool. Awesomeness. But anyway, we got about 5 minutes, and you are going on a vacation, and I'm so jealous because I want to go too, but I'll have to wait for the stories.
I'm going to a place called Block Island. It's off of Rhode Island, and I guess it's an artist colony. It's been there since the 30s and 40s, and yeah, I've never been there. I've wanted to go there to the Block Island, and somebody offered us a free space, a free house. So that's cool. Yeah.
That is really cool. Is it on the beach?
It's an island.
Okay. Cool.
So the ocean surrounds it. We have to take a ferry over.
Oh.
And we're going to be there. We're going to do a water ceremony, of course. We're going to lay around and lay around and lay around more.
You going to get tan?
We'll sing. Yeah, yeah. I'm going to be happy.
I know.
I'm going to be by the water. The water is the life. The water does it for me, too. I have to get to the mother's water every year and more. I love that. So, yeah, I'll be gone. I'll be back for our show, though. I'll be back for Turtle and Crow show coming up next Monday.
Okay, cool.
I will be. And I'm happy to have been here today. I'm in the middle of packing and in between stuff, so I had a little time. I thought I'd drop in. It was wonderful to be on the show with Tracy. And, of course, you always. And everybody out there on People for People. Love seeing you guys here. Thank you so much. And we'll see you around the campus. And keep just shining your light. It's all good. That's what I feel.
It's all
and
good.
Doksha. Okay.
Yep. And we got, after Ouija show, stick around because we got Stars, Heart of the Matter coming up. And then tomorrow, don't forget, early morning, 8 a.m. here on this side of the pond. I think that's 4 p.m. over there on you guys' side. We have Shaziz with Mad Science, so please tune in for that. Lots of good stuff. And then we'll see you. I know we've got other shows on Sunday, but I'm not on the schedule page. Please check it out. And if you don't know where it's at, you can probably look right over here to above the chat on the menu bar, and you can go and look at the schedule of all the hosts and the shows and their times. So please do that. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, People for People Radio, also on YouTube, peopleforpeopleradio.ning.com or peopleforpeople.ning.com, and dot is spelled out. If you haven't subscribed on Facebook or YouTube, please do so. It always helps us out. And please share those podcasts. Share the Facebook page to your friends. All this information needs to get out there. We have some brilliant hosts with excellent information. And the more people that get to hear it, it's just the more empowered people become. We love you guys, and keep on keeping on, I guess. And we'll see you on the other side. Have a great evening. Ouija World is coming up. See you there.